The ingredients in this recipe are 4 Roma plum tomatoes, 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning, 1 tablespoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of ground pepper, 1 teaspoon of granulated garlic, and 1 or 2 teaspoons of olive oil.
Roasting is a great technique. You say, oh, roasting's complicated. I can't do roasting. Roasting, all you really do is you set the temperature to preheat your oven. You open the metal box, you put your ingredients in to cook, you close the metal box, you stand back, and you're roasting. It's that simple. It's a very simple technique, and people sort of try to make it more complicated than it really is. But the biggest thing I think is to preheat your oven. Just make sure that you preheat your oven before you start. And one of the first things we're going to roast is we're going to roast Roma tomatoes. Roma tomatoes, again, sometimes called plum tomatoes, are the long tomatoes like this. And I think these roast up really nicely. And this is a really nice side dish that adds a little bit of a color to a plate, and it's real simple to do. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the end off that tomato. These have been washed, and I'm just going to cut them in half. And I've got 4 here, so for 4 people, it gives everybody a full tomato. So that's like 2 halves per person. If you want to do a little bit more, you certainly can. Certainly easy enough to do. And what happens is when we roast is some of the liquid and juices evaporate, and it causes it to be more concentrated. So when it's winter, or sometimes when it's difficult to get a really good tomato with a really concentrated flavor, this is a great technique for some of those pale tomatoes that you see, around Christmas or midwinter, and you want that full tomato flavor. This is going to help you achieve that. So those are our halved Romas. That's how simple it is. Now we're just going to put together a little sprinkle. I'm just going to put it in this baggie here. I have 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning blend, and I'm just going to throw that right in the baggie. You could throw it into a bowl too if you wanted. I have a tablespoon of kosher salt. I'm going to throw that in. A teaspoon of pepper, and I'm just going to throw that in. And I have a teaspoon of granulated garlic. I'm not using fresh garlic because this roasts quite a while. I'm going to go ahead and use the granulated garlic in this instance. And I'm going to put that in. And I'm just going to shake all this up. And that's my sprinkle just to go on top of the tomatoes. And you'll be surprised what a great, great flavor this gives you. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my half Romas and I'm just going to lay them out on a sheet. A little bit of space between them, not too much. I'm going to take a little bit of the sprinkle, make sure it's really good, well mixed up, and I'm just going to sprinkle that on the top. Make sure each one gets coated pretty good. And after I've sort of broadcast that over all of those, I'm going to take about a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'm just going to put a little bit of drizzle of olive oil on the top of these. And that's it. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put these in a 400-degree oven, and I'm putting in a 400-degree oven probably for about 2 hours. I don't want sun-dried tomatoes when I'm done. I want a little bit of moisture left in them, but I want the juices to really concentrate in these tomatoes, and I'm going to go ahead and put them in. Now, if I'm roasting something else, I can certainly put those in while I'm roasting chicken or roasting beef or doing something else. But about 2 hours, we'll just keep an eye on them. And when we'll come back, we'll see what the magic has created. So it's been about 2 hours. And you can see with that sprinkle in olive oil how they've just sort of shrunk down to the essence of tomato right here. They're a little hot. But we'll just have to try one. Now, I think these are gorgeous with cheese or with a glass of wine as a starter course. These also could be put on top of a salad, and I think that's a really good way to serve them. But my favorite way to serve them is when you've got sort of a brown plate with not a lot of color on it. It adds a little red to the plate as a side vegetable. And here you go. All of that tomato flavor has been concentrated into a couple of really delicious bites. And then know you've got some sprinkle left over, or you should. You have this handy. I just write tomato sprinkle on it. I keep a big bag of it like this. I multiply the recipe out, keep a big bag of it. All I need to do is go buy 4 tomatoes, and I got a great little side dish or a great little appetizer to start. And that's it, the roasted Roma tomatoes.